Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a truly terrifying supernatural narrative sourced straight from a chilling first-hand account. We're looking at a story that completely dismantles our understanding of reality, pulling us from the cozy comfort of a totally normal evening straight into an absolute waking nightmare. I mean, we all have those spaces where we feel completely safe from the dark, right? But what happens when the dark actually follows you inside?
Ghosts don't exist, right? But really, exactly how long does it take to shatter that belief? I want you to put yourself in the shoes of someone about to face the literal impossible. You're safe in your home, you're just doing your daily chores, and then, in the blink of an eye, everything changes.
So exactly how fast can normality crumble? Well, it starts out as a completely mundane evening. At 10 p.m., our narrator, Nil Canto, is just hanging out, cooking dal in his kitchen. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. By 10:05 p.m., his oldest childhood friend, Subamal, is standing at the door. But it's instantly obvious he's not just dropping by for a casual chat. Just 5 minutes later, at 10:10 p.m., Subamal is practically begging Nil Canto to aggressively padlock all the doors. The abrupt shift from a quiet night to this sudden, intense psychological tension is just jarring.
Sumimal is panting heavily. He's sweating profusely, and he's stammering out, Maya, I want to go back to the village. He literally wants to completely abandon his life and escape whatever followed him from his job as a lightman in Madhupur. The sheer, naked desperation in his voice is totally palpable.
And notice how the sensory details start betraying them. A pressure cooker hisses loudly in the kitchen. Totally normal, right? But instead of just ignoring it, Sumabal shrinks back in sheer terror and says, that's not the pressure cooker. That's its laughter. His reality is fracturing right there in a brightly lit room. This kind of paranoia is incredibly infectious, and it really makes you wonder, what exactly did he see to break him so completely?
Which leads us to the ash of the cursed cinema.
To understand this trauma, we actually have to go back a month to a nearly empty movie screening. In walks the midnight viewer, a tall stature, covered entirely in ash, long unkempt hair, kohl-rimmed eyes, black lipstick, and a horrific rotting smell. So yeah, not exactly your average late-night movie buff. Subamal initially thought it was just a mentally unstable person wandering in off the street, but man, he couldn't have been more wrong. And then, the entity speaks. It approaches Subamal with this chilling smile and asks, "Can you tell who will burn at the crematorium at the end of this film?" This spine-chilling question just immediately infects the narrative with this heavy tone of impending doom. It's not just a weird customer anymore, it's an active threat wrapped in a dark riddle.
So, how does the curse actually take hold? Well, it's a fatal sequence of events. First, before leaving, the entity warns Subamal that no one should sit on his chair. Then it scatters ash on the seat and just walks out. Finally, Subamal, who is super annoyed and thinking the guy is just playing a tasteless prank, brushes the ash off and angrily sits down anyway. It's such a simple, incredibly relatable act of defiant frustration, but it completely seals his fate. Ever since that exact night, it has been pure psychological torment for Subamal. He's experiencing relentless nightmares filled with skulls, constant crying, and grotesque floating tongues every single time he closes his eyes. Just imagine the toll that takes on a human mind. He hasn't slept properly or gone to work in a month. The tension is just building and building as he hides in Nilkanto's house, desperately praying he has finally escaped it.
And this brings us to Harihar Babu's strange proposal. Right as Subamal is pouring his heart out, a knock at the door yanks them back to the present. The landlord, Harihar Babu, casually mentions there's a broken chair lying at the front gate. Notice the dramatic irony and creeping dread here. The outside world is actually beginning to reflect Subamal's inner terror. The cursed chair from the cinema hall has seemingly manifested outside. But when they rush to the gate in a total panic, there's just an empty street, chirping crickets, and a stray dog. This builds into an absolutely insane proposition. Think about this reality for a second. Subamal is actively being hunted by a demonic entity attached to a cinema hall. And the landlord's big solution? He insists they all go out for a midnight drive to watch a movie to cure his fear. Landlords, right? Always with the worst timing. It's this absurd, subtly sinister suggestion that totally dismisses Subamal's trauma, but in a moment of sheer vulnerability, it irreversibly alters the course of their night.
Now we enter the terrifying midnight drive.
Feeling pressured by the overbearing landlord, they actually go along with it. Gatung gatung. The landlord's vintage open-top car rattles down the desolate road under a cloud-covered full moon. The sensory details here are just ominous. The wind is howling, it looks like it's about to pour, and the landlord is driving uncharacteristically fast, completely ignoring Subamal's terrified pleas to slow down.
Suddenly, Subamal points a trembling finger at the driver's seat. The landlord's short white hair is actively turning into long, matted black locks, violently blowing in the wind. A horrific, totally impossible transformation is unfolding right in front of them at high speed.
And it gets worse. When the driver slowly turns his head, the face has become a skull, smeared in tar and ash. His eyes are ringed in coal, his lips painted black. The shocking realization hits Nilkanto like a freight train. The landlord is completely gone. He's been entirely replaced by the demon from the cinema hall, driving them out into the middle of nowhere. The entity utters these chilling words over the roar of the engine with a flat, unbothered calm. The time to see the crematorium has come. I have come to take you. It reaches its monstrous, grotesque hand right into the back seat, touching Subamal's forehead, and Subamal faints instantly.
So the absolutely crucial point here is, what do you do next? How can Nilkanto escape a moving car with a monster? The panic reaches an absolute crescendo. With literally no other choice, Nilkanto is forced to make the agonizing decision to abandon his unconscious friend. He throws open the door and jumps blindly into the dark street just to survive.
Bruised and battered on the street, Nilkanto looks back and witnesses this haunting final visual. A giant figure is dragging Subamal by the legs into a pitch-black alley, disappearing entirely into the darkness. Completely helpless, Nilkanto flees for his life toward the nearest police station.
And that leads to the bone-chilling ultimate truth.
Nilkanto arrives at the police station, frantic, breathless, and begging for help. He tells the officers everything about his friend working at the cinema hall in Madhapur. But here is where the bottom drops out of reality, the number 6. The police listen, and then they inform him of a devastating twist. That specific cinema hall burned to ashes exactly 6 months ago.
As this completely impossible truth sets in, Nilkanto steps back outside into the night. The ambient weather, the pouring rain and crashing thunder, merges into what sounds exactly like demonic, triumphant laughter. The curse is inescapable, and reality itself feels completely shattered at this point. If the theater tragically burned down 6 months ago, but Subimal was supposedly going to work there for months, pulling day and night shifts, who or what was he working with at that cinema hall all this time? It's a provocative, mind-bending question that totally shatters your sense of reality and leaves you thoroughly haunted. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep analyzing the facts, stay curious, and hey, maybe double-check who you're sitting next to in the dark.